Could a white director not have
It's not
produced this
color,
work?
it's culture.
Denzel Washington, a powerhouse in Hollywood for nearly 50 years, just shook the very foundation of Tinseltown with a bold critique of its so-called woke culture. He's seen it all, the rise of blockbuster hits and the fall of deep storytelling, and he's not holding back. In a world where studios often prioritize diversity on paper over genuine representation, Denzel's powerful words cut through the noise, challenging the industry to do better. As he calls out the shallow practices of Hollywood, one has to wonder, is Denzel the voice of reason we've all been waiting for?
A black man. Before there was any such thing as a Republican or a Democrat, we were black. Before there was any such thing as a Mason or an elf.
Denzel Washington has been a Hollywood giant for almost 5 decades, and his trajectory is nothing short of incredible. With leading roles in massive films like Malcolm X, Training Day, and Fences, he has established himself as one of the most honored actors of our time. His input goes beyond acting. He speaks to authenticity and depth in storytelling. Denzel has lived through the transformation of Hollywood, and he doesn't mind speaking candidly about what he perceives as an ugly trend.
Geez, if it's successful, it goes, make 20 of them. If it's not, it goes, we don't know them. So I don't think it had a preconceived notion. I think the more successful that films are that are made or directed by African-American filmmakers.
While Hollywood film over the years has time and again locked in its economic gain at the expense of rich, deep storytelling, all the ruckus about box office supremacy has been at the expense of meaningful narratives. As a result, we have a landscape where studios spend plenty of money on flashy visuals, big-name stars, but nonetheless, leave out compelling stories that really matter to audiences. In Denzel's opinion, that is a tendency that has entrenched itself in the industry and goes on to weaken the art of filmmaking, forcing it into being more like a formula, rather than respecting the depth to human experience.
I know, you know, we all know what it is when a hot comb hits your hair on a Sunday morning, what it smells like. That's a cultural difference, not just a color difference.
Right.
So it's the culture.
You know about a hot comb?
One of Denzel's strong declarations is that it's not about color, it's about culture. This statement sums up what he believes in regarding to whom and how film representation should extend. Most importantly, though, it tells one that a culture has to be understood before its story can be told. A great example of this is Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. Now, Spielberg is certainly a genius filmmaker, but certain elements of that film only make sense to someone steeped in Jewish culture. That, Denzel says, without such cultural insight, even the best intentions can go awry.
Steven Spielberg could direct Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese probably could have done a good job with Schindler's List, but they're cultural differences.
As we sometimes narrow our attention strictly to color, we are guilty of oversimplifying complex narratives. According to him, this is not about merely looks. It's about a depth of richness in experience, tradition, and nuance in itself that creates culture. He believes when these do not exist, filmmakers just scratch the surface of a tale. It is about creating a work that is not seen but felt, a tale that carries a deeper resonance. All Denzel does is remind everyone that diversity is not just a checkbox to mark off in Hollywood, but a commitment to authenticity and depth.
Dreams because of their skin color. I'll give you an example, Globetrotters. They were much better basket players than the white guys, but they were not allowed to play in the big league.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think it is the problem is the racial discrimination?
The right word is not is, was.
Was.
And that's not the only problem. That's one of the problems. Now, you can make it the only one if you'd like, but it's not the only one. But that's a fact. That's a fact. They couldn't play basketball in the NBA. Well, their grandfathers couldn't walk on the sidewalk, or they were slaves. So each generation is trying to do better for the next generation. That's what Rose could see by wanting her son to get an education, but Troy couldn't see. For him, his son doing better was him getting his son a job at the sanitation department. For his wife, the son doing better was getting a good education and going to college. So each generation regardless of race, each generation, Polish, African American, whatever, is usually trying to.
He believes that many studios are more interested in just filling boxes rather than actually building good representation. It is like assuming that by hiring a few diverse faces, everything else will pan out. But realistic representation is beyond the checks in the list. It is about knowing and giving importance to the cultures associated with the stories. Denzel believes when filmmakers neglect this aspect, they lose the opportunity to create authentic narratives that connect with the audience. It should then center on the stories themselves and not on who is telling them. True diversity would be more about bringing forth voices and opinions that reflect the richness of cultures that form diversity itself. It's about portraying the experiences which will define the individual and communities. When Hollywood prioritizes looks over substance, the storytelling that can indeed make a connection to people is more or less killed. Denzel appeals to the industry to go beyond mere representation and seek stories that better represent human experiences and complexity.
Got quiet in here, didn't it? Didn't it get real quiet? It's a tool, so we should use it. God has blessed us with free will. Now it's free will magnified, free will on steroids. You're free to go in any direction you want. It will allow you, and it's not the enemy.
Cancel culture has become a hot topic in today's society, and Denzel has some strong opinions about it. He critiques how this phenomenon stifles open dialogue and freedom of expression. When people are afraid to speak their minds for fear of being canceled, it creates an environment where important discussions can't happen. Denzel argues that we should allow for different opinions and learn from mistakes, rather than simply shutting people down.
It's just it's just a reflection of our own free will. Oh, and we all want to be liked. But now we want to be liked by 16 million.
He believes in the power of conversation and growth. Mistakes should be made, and after doing so, it's okay to have a space to acknowledge such mistakes before moving on. Cancel culture will lead people into fear, where they fear not saying what's popularly expected, but say what is preferred. Denzel would like to foster an atmosphere where open talk is cherished, so that diversity in the opinions that could really enrich the conversations is allowed instead of being restricted.
It's called a gift. You didn't earn it. You were born with a gift. Now you hone that gift. You develop that gift. You do everything you need to do to protect.
Confident in sharing their stories, no matter how different or unconventional they may be. Denzel is also passionate about advocating for projects that elevate unheard voices. He believes that cinema has a significant role in shaping societal perspectives, and that filmmakers should focus on stories that matter. For him, storytelling is more than entertainment. It's a way to address important social issues and foster understanding among diverse audiences. He often emphasizes the idea that film should reflect the realities of life and provide insights into the experiences of marginalized communities. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.